I completely understand what it is like to get a master's degree in infant digestion via Google at 3 in the morning because your baby cannot sleep and their tummy is hurting so much because they have so much gas builds up and you're trying to figure out how to get your newborn to fart without hurting them. Hey friends, welcome back to the Millennial Mama Memo podcast, a weekly memo from your favorite Millennial Mama therapist. I'm Lauren, a late diagnosed ADHDer, mom of two, licensed therapist, and founder of Millennial Mama Therapy. I built the Millennial Mama universe for moms just like me who are figuring out who they are on the other side of becoming a mom. I work with moms all throughout California, and I also host 2 free virtual support groups for moms everywhere. If you're new here, hi, I'm so glad that you found me. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Let's get into it. As always, we're going to start this episode with the Millennial Mama Mix, which is a little bit of everything on my radar as a millennial mom in person. A couple of weeks ago, I had shared with you guys my match framework, which is basically the 5 lenses that I bring to any type of work that I'm doing. And those lenses together spell out the acronym MATCH. So those lenses are mom, advocate, therapist, connector, and human. And I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a millennial mama lore drop. So today I wanted to share a little bit about me that I bring to my work, specifically from the perspective of being a mom. One of the reasons why I love working with moms so much is that this is terrain that I know personally. I have been through so many of the places that the moms that I work with have been through or are in. I am actively in some of the spaces that mamas who come to my support groups are in as well. And I think that it just brings this really cool connection. I completely understand what it is like to get a master's degree in infant digestion via Google at 3 in the morning because your baby cannot sleep and their tummy is hurting so much because they have so much gas builds up and you're trying to figure out how to get your newborn to fart without hurting them. So anyway, I just thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a lore drop. So like I've shared many times before, I'm a mom of 2. My older daughter was born in early 2021. I got pregnant with her during the pandemic. So navigating being pregnant for the very first time while also in unprecedented times. Boy, it's been a long time since I've said that, especially because these days everything's feeling very precedented. And then my second daughter was born at the end of 2023. And during that time frame is when I got licensed and opened my very first private practice. If you're not familiar with the process of becoming licensed, you go to grad school. Sometime during your grad program, you start doing your very first clinical experience hours. In California, if you are a licensed marriage and family therapist, you are called a trainee at that point. You're called a trainee therapist. Then when you graduate and get your degree, you become an associate therapist. That's where you then get the bulk of your experience hours and supervision. Then after you collect all of the 3,000 hours that you need in order to apply for licensure, you study and take the licensing exam, and then you get to become a licensed therapist. So when I had my older daughter, when I was pregnant with her, everything suddenly shifted to telehealth only, which I can recall saying prior to the pandemic that I was never going to do telehealth therapy. I only wanted to do it in person. And now, LOL, most of what I do is virtual, even though I do have an office space and things like that. A lot of times virtual is just what works best for moms and for our kids in the season of craziness that we are in. So anyway, was navigating being pregnant for the first time, was navigating the shift to telehealth while also still getting those experience hours and then eventually studying to take the exam. We had always planned to try for our first baby after I became an associate. If you talk to any therapist out there, they will tell you that the process of becoming a therapist is wild and complicated. Compensation is very poor. So if you are not in a position of privilege like I was, where I had benefits through my husband's job, his income was enough to sustain us, it can be very grueling and time consuming. I had the privilege of having my first baby while I was still an associate. I joked that I was going to give birth to my first baby and then I was not going to give birth to another baby until I birthed my therapy license, took my licensing exam and got licensed in July of 2022. I opened my very first private practice in September. I was able to take my existing caseload of clients from my old agency with me. And then shortly thereafter, we started trying for our second daughter and got pregnant with her. And so I was just maintaining my existing caseload in my private practice with the dream in mind that when I came back after maternity leave, I wanted to start specializing in maternal mental health. So during that time frame, I was doing additional trainings through Postpartum Support International, working towards getting my PMHC, perinatal mental health certification. Had Nora in September of 2023, went out on maternity leave for the rest of the year, came back in 2024 and started into private practice again. And it's funny because at the time, I mean, it's all still the same business, quote unquote, but like it was such a different business than what I have now. Part of why bringing this mom identity to my match framework is so important is because my business would not look like what it looks like if not for the fact that I'm a mom. Before becoming a mom, I wasn't 100% sure who I wanted to work with or where I wanted to specialize. I just knew that I wanted to help people. I'll have to get into this in a different lore drop, but my background is that I grew up overseas and lived in a lot of different countries. And so I kind of had this idea of working with like immigrants, people in cross cultural situations, navigating, having this kind of third culture identity. I say all the time that I was a therapist before I became a mom, but I didn't specialize in maternal and mental health until I became a mom. I went into birth and postpartum feeling so prepared. I was like, I've got a master's degree in mental health. I am a therapist. I'm actively seeing clients. I know my resources. I have a great family support system, all of that. And wow, I just got absolutely smacked in the face with baby blues and feeding challenges and such bad anxiety, which we absolutely now know is also elements of ADHD. And it was just so shocking to me that in my entire process of getting licensed as a therapist, I received zero training or education about maternal mental health and the identity shift that we go through when we become moms and how it changes literally absolutely everything. Becoming a mom is like dropping watercolor into a glass of water. Motherhood doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change the water in the cup to apple juice. It's still water, but it absolutely shifts how that water looks, how we perceive that water. That's how motherhood is. We are still us. I am still Lauren, but I am also a very different version of Lauren than I was prior to having my girls. I just find that identity work of motherhood so interesting. I love helping moms come back to themselves and figure out how to help themselves thrive, love themselves so that way they can also love their kids well, because those two are so deeply connected. If we're not caring for mom can't show up in the way that she wants to. I hear so many moms worried about being bad moms. And what I tell them is if you weren't worried about being a bad mom, that would make you a bad mom. The fact that you are concerned about this and wanting to make these shifts and change, that is what makes you a good, if you've heard me say this once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, good enough mom. And part of being a good enough mom is awareness. My first iteration of my private practice was not called Millennial Mama Therapy. It was actually called Lauren Pulis Therapy. The name Millennial Mama Therapy came to me when I was doing one of these ideal client exercises. I was like, I know maternal mental health, but there's a lot of realms in maternal mental health. Are we talking adoption, infertility, advanced maternal age, recurrent loss, surrogacy? What are we talking about? And as I began to really niche that down, I was like, it's millennial moms. But as I have gone further into having Millennial Mama Therapy, I've come to realize that the Millennial Mama and Millennial Mama Therapy is not actually my clients, it's me. And so you do not have to be a millennial to work with me. You have to know that I'm a millennial and I'm a mom, and those are going to be aspects that I bring to our work together. When you hear Millennial Mama Therapy, just know that the Millennial Mama and Millennial Mama Therapy is me, and it's not meant to be exclusive. It's just meant to help people know that maybe I'm the right person for them to work with if they like the fact that I bring the perspective of being a millennial and a mom. So some other tidbits about me as a mom that might be interesting. My first daughter was born by vaginal delivery, and my second baby was born by a planned C-section because she would not get head down. My OBGYN is phenomenal and will absolutely deliver breech babies, assuming that they are in a safe position. He also has a really high success rate with ECV, the technique for maneuvering babies externally to help them get head down. And she resisted any and all attempts. When they did an ultrasound to see what her positioning was, he could not confidently say that it was safe to deliver her vaginally. So we went in for a C-section. And I remember at the time just having feelings about it. A C-section is not a bad thing at all, but it is a different thing than a vaginal delivery. It is a major abdominal surgery. And so I just had to take some time to sit with my feels. And I remember my husband saying, honestly, this might be a gift because you can now identify with even more experience experiences. You can identify with moms who've had a vaginal delivery, and you can identify with moms who have had C-sections. That's something that I really appreciate about being a mom while also working with moms, is that it brings a level of being able to connect and understand and maybe help put into words the experiences that moms sitting across from me are having a hard time verbalizing. I could probably talk on and on about this all day, but I will wrap it up there. And I'm sure there will be more lore drops that come throughout the future. But if you have any questions about what it's like being a mom who is also a therapist who works with moms, or you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM. Would love to answer some questions from you, my listeners. So the favorites folder is where I share good stuff that I can't stop talking about that you should know about. And this time I have a movie and a TV show that I want to share with you guys. The first is Voicemails for Isabel. And on my heart, like, I've seen so many people online share that this is like a resurgence of those classic 90s, early 2000 rom-coms, and it genuinely felt that way. Like there are sometimes some more current rom-coms that I watch, I almost like get the ick a little bit, but this one felt so good. It was so beautiful watching the dynamic between the main character and her sister. And as a mom of two girls, I was absolutely sobbing at many, many moments. It was really beautiful watching the interplay of the two main characters as they're developing a relationship and as they're both learning and growing and making mistakes. And it was just a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed watching it. So recommend giving it a try, and then head over to Threads and check out some of the awesome breakdowns and conversations happening there about all the subtle details. It's so good, you guys. There are so many awesome things coming out these days. And I love the little tidbits that like filmmakers and showrunners will just drop in there for us to find. It's so cool. The next show that I've been watching that I really, really enjoyed is called Running Point, and it is about a family that owns a basketball team. The main character, Isla, and her four brothers inherited this team from their dad and are now figuring out the process of running this professional basketball team and everything that goes with it. And another little bit of a lore drop here, but I am one of five kids. I have four brothers. I have an older brother and I have three younger brothers. I just really enjoyed getting to watch this family dynamic. Obviously, I'm not going to say that their dynamic is the healthiest. If you've watched the show, and if you do watch it, you will see what I mean. But I just kind of enjoyed the interplay of her being like the only girl in this family and being raised in a primarily male family system and kind of what that looks like. Growing up, I wanted a sister so badly. But as an adult looking back and now having the relationships that I do with my brothers, I just love my brothers so much. They are some of my best friends. I have loved watching them become uncles. Okay, I'm not even talking about the show anymore. I'm just talking about me and how it puts me in my feels about having four brothers and how much I love my brothers. So, anyway, recommend checking that out. And of course, I cannot wrap up a discussion of amazing TV shows or movie content that you should watch without giving a shout out to Off Campus. So phenomenal. Such a good show. Definitely not a kid friendly show, just to give you a forewarning. I think everybody at this point knows that, but it is still so good. Highly recommend watching it. My husband and I watched it together. We had so many good conversations about it. The soundtrack is freaking amazing. It's so good. Okay, moving on to Pink Couch Post-its. These are updates, hot takes, and things worth knowing from the Millennial Mama universe. I just wanted to share that someone found Mama Mess Hall through this podcast. That makes me so freaking excited that the podcast is out there in the world and finding moms everywhere. So if you're listening to this right now and thinking that I don't want to get to know you, or I wouldn't care, or I'd be weirded out if you messaged me, I promise you are wrong. If you are out there listening to this right now, I would love for you to shoot me a message and say, "Hey, Lauren, I was listening to the Millennial Mama Memo podcast, and I just wanted to reach out and say hi." I would love that. If you are listening to this podcast, you are so welcome to come to Mama Mess Hall, which is my free virtual support group for moms anywhere. Mama Mess Hall has been around for a little over a year now, and it's been so fun to watch that community grow and see the relationships and support and network and community that is developing between the moms in the group. So if you are looking for a neurodiverse friendly, low spoon friendly very low lift, inclusive, accepting group of moms to connect with, please check us out. I would love to have you join. The links for that are going to be in my bio. Alrighty, and we're coming into our last stop for this episode, which is one last thing, and this is how you can stay in my orbit. You can join the Millennial Mama universe by subscribing to my weekly newsletter in case you missed the memo, as well as the Millennial Mama podcast if you're not subscribed already, which if you're not, what's going on? Hit the subscribe button. Come hang out with me every week. Another way to be part of the Millennial Mama universe is by joining one of my support groups. I host 2 free virtual drop-in support groups. Both of them are non-clinical, so not therapy. They are just designed to have pure support and community. The first one is called Mama Mess Hall. I was just talking about it. That is for any mom, anywhere. And then I also have the break room, which is specifically designed for moms who are also space holders in a professional capacity. So maybe you are a therapist, lactation consultant, a labor and delivery nurse, a pediatrician, a surgeon. You are caring for moms, families, and babies in some capacity. And it feels hard to show up to typical mom support spaces for fear that you might become the expert in the room. That's exactly who the break room is for. Now, I also want to take a moment to remind you guys that my resourcing calls have been rebranded to Matchmaker Hours. These are a non-clinical call that gets you connected with local supports and resources. My referral network is the strongest here in Sacramento and in California. However, I am always expanding my network. So even if you're out of state, I've got you covered too. And because it is a non-clinical service, it is available to anyone, including folks outside of California. So if that sounds helpful, you can also head to the link in my bio to book that as well. Now, if you are in California and you're ready to do something about the thing, whatever the thing is that you've been carrying, birth trauma, body image issues, anxiety, depression, intrusive thoughts, it's time for you to book an ART intensive. ART stands for Accelerated Resolution Therapy. And I've got a ton more information about that on my website. The intensive is 4 appointments across 4 to 6 weeks with a defined treatment goal and treatment endpoint. I've got 3 slots open in July for ART intensives. One of them has already booked up. So if you are interested, head to my website to learn more about it and also book your consultation call today. Your consultation call is the very first step to getting your ART intensive booked. We go over everything in more detail, answer any questions you have, and move forward from there. All right, friends, that's your Millennial Mama memo for the week. Head to the link in my bio to subscribe to my newsletter in case you missed the memo so you never miss a memo. And I'll see you next week.